मॉर्निंग स्टूडेंट्स। नेल्सन मंडेला चैप्टर के सेकेंड लेक्चर में आपका स्वागत है। सेकेंड लेक्चर को हम लोग देखते हैं। सेकेंड लेक्चर में हम लोग को क्या पढ़ना था, जैसे हमारा फर्स्ट लेक्चर में क्या क्या चीज़ें कवर हुई। फर्स्ट लेक्चर में हमारा कवर हुआ नेल्सन मंडेला का जन्म कब हुआ था, व्हेन वाज ही बॉर्न, व्हेन डिड ही वेंट टू जेल, when did he got released, when did he publish the book, what was the book about, when was the inauguration ceremony held, where was the inauguration ceremony held, who were the people who took oath, what did Nelson Mandela placed in his oath. And today we have to cover his address. Whatever speech he delivered, in the way he addressed the people who had come there about the globe, and also the people of there, he addressed it. ये उन लोगों को address जैसे उनके addressal का first point क्या था, जैसे he says that all of us do confer hope and glory to our heavenly birth. It means he says to all the people who were present there that we have been gathered here to support the newly and fairly elected first non-racial democratic government. Again, he mentions another point that out of an extraordinary human disaster that had lasted for too long must be born a society on which an entire human race feels proud of. But the question is, why does he refer the apartheid system as an extraordinary human disaster? This was one of the most asked questions. This is the question where most of you get confused. Be sure. Why does he refer as an extraordinary human disaster? First of all, the disaster has been started or had started in the first decade of 20th century when Mandela wasn't even born, and lasted till the last decade of 20th century and 8th decade of Mandela as a man. So since it lasted for nearly a century, and it was one of the most harsh, most inhuman society the world had ever witnessed. So, and it was done by all the discrimination, all the exploitation, all the things were done by the people of South Africa itself. So since it has lasted for a long period of time, for about a century, so it is a long disaster. It has created deep wound to the people of South Africa, to the country of South Africa, and it was done by the humans. That's why it is referred as extraordinary human disaster. Then he says that we who were outlaws not so long ago, कि हम लोग जो outlaws हो चुके थे, we who have been cut off from the political diplomatic relationship with all the other countries, have today been given a rare privilege. Today they have, on that day, on the day 10th May 1994, they have got a special chance, a special occasion. They got the opportunity to invite the people around the globe. He had invited, or even more than 140 countries, dignitarians and politicians were present there. This was the rare privilege that the people who had broken all the diplomatic relationship with them, the countries who had broken all the relationship with them, are today being hosted by them. आज साउथ अफ्रीका की धरती पे वो लोग आए हैं और साउथ अफ्रीका को उनको होस्ट करने का मौका मिला है. दिस इज द रेयर अपॉर्चुनिटी, स्पेशल अपॉर्चुनिटी. देन ही अगेन थैंक्स ऑल द पीपल हु वर प्रेजेंट हियर, ऑल द इंटरनेशनल गेस्ट फॉर कमिंग देयर. वो कहते हैं कि वी शुड थैंक ऑल द डिस्टिंग्विश्ड गेस्ट हु हैड कम from the different part of the world, who had come here to support the newly and fairly elected government, who had come here to support the victory that is not only limited to the people of South Africa, but also it is a common victory for entire human race. It is common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. There was another point that he says that finally we have got political emancipation, means they have been politically free, they have got all the rights. So, if someone had ruled on us for a long period of time, what would we do? What would we do? We would oppress them, we would exploit them, we would take our revenge. But he said that no, we want equality, we want peace. We won't take any kind of revenge. We will just make sure that there should be no one who gets deprived of any kind of right. There should be no one who is suffering from any kind of suffering, facing any kind of discrimination. So he told all his people to place themselves that will maintain peace and make sure that there is no one who is suffering from any kind of discrimination out there. Then, when he was about to conclude his speech, address, he mentions 2 and 3 points that we mainly say that he says he sets few ideals for the future of South Africa. One of them was that we have just studied that we should liberate all the people. सभी लोगों को लिबरेट करना है. We will make sure that everyone gets equal rights irrespective of their gender, caste or any kind of discrimination. Then also he says that this beautiful land that had been freed, that had been slave for a long time, that today got freedom, should not again feel any kind of oppression, any kind of exploitation, cruelty of one by another. He sets one more idea that the suns are never set on so glorious human achievement. It means that finally humanity have won. Humanity have achieved equality. So this glorious human achievement, the rise of this glorious human achievement shall never set. ये जो मानवता के नए समाज का जो राइज हुआ है, उदय हुआ, ये कभी अंत नहीं होना चाहिए, इसका खत्म नहीं होना चाहिए. And at the end of the speech, he says, "Let freedom reign. God bless Africa." And this was the word with that he concluded his speech. ये उनके स्पीच का पार्ट. अब now we'll move further. That what did he experience after this speech? He says that a few moments later, after finishing his speech, address, he lifted his eyes in awe. What does awe means? A feeling of fear and surprise got mixed together. He lifted his eyes in awe. What did he see there? That over Union buildings, there was a spectacular scene of South African jets, helicopters, troop carriers flying over it, and it was a display of something. It was display of 2 things. First, it was display of pinpoint precision, accuracy and power of South African military. And also it was display of loyalty. The South African military's loyalty towards the newly and fairly elected government, that we were loyal to the previous government and we are loyal to the newly and fairly elected government also. Then also he remembers one more incident, that all the people were there, they were cheering, but the highest officials of military, the highest generals, police officials, whose chests were bedecked with the medals, rebels, they have come and saluted him. But while he was being applauded by so many people, he was getting respect by them, the South African generals, police officials. He had not forgotten a fact that is mentioned there as an unmindful fact. What was the fact? The fact was that if he had come there at Sandstone Amphitheatre a few years ago of this victory, the people, the highest military officials, the police officials who were saluting him would not have saluted him. Instead of saluting, they would have arrested him. they would have humiliated him, but now they are paying respect to him. After that, he says that the day got symbolized for Mandela. He feels that the day has become symbolic. Why? Because two national anthems were sung. First, Nikose Sikelin I Africa. That means long live Africa. And the another national anthem was Dynasty. That means the voice of South Africa. What was the big deal about it, and why did the people sing two national anthems? Because earlier South Africa used to follow the first national anthem, Nikose Sikelin I Africa, but it was banned by the white people ruling there in 1928. And after that, they were following, the white people followed Die State, and black people used to follow Nikose Sikelin I Africa. But since they had got freedom, they had got equality, equal rights, there is no barrier, differences between them. So they got united together, and both of the national anthems were sung by each community. The Nikose Sikelin I Africa, that was the national anthem of blacks, were sung by whites. And Die State, that was the national anthem of whites, were sung by blacks. It symbolizes the harmony and respect between them. It shows that there is no barriers between them. Finally, all the barriers have ended. And the last part, that he feels overwhelmed with a sense of history. He got excited that he had been, the history had been rewritten. The history is being rewritten. And why was he feeling overwhelmed with a sense of history? Why was he feeling that the history is being rewritten? Because in the first decade of 20th century, when after the Anglo-Boer War, the discriminative system had been started, and the system that we know about, apartheid system, has been formally established in 1948. 1948, and that long system, that the most harsh, inhuman system, lasted for about a century and had been ended in the last decade of 20th century. And it was not just ended, but got replaced by a system that recognized the rights of all the people, irrespective of their gender, caste, or any other thing. That is why he says that he was overwhelmed with a sense of history. He was feeling that history is being rewritten again. We have gained our equality and freedom. And I think that's it for today. आज के लिए इतना ही. हमारा दो पार्ट कवर हो गया. एक एड्रेसर कि वो अपने स्पीच में क्या क्या बोले, और दूसरा कि स्पीच के बाद वो क्या क्या फील किए, फिर आगे बाद में पढ़ेंगे नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में. ये हमारा सेकंड